All right, welcome to our quick little matrix unit review. I know for a lot of you this year in particular, you may not have done any matrixy work, but we're just going to take you through, kind of show you how to do this, how to make this work. Hopefully it makes sense. This should be just kind of a quick unit to get you ready for the next thing that we do, which is going to be not just solving systems, but doing partial fractions. So let's just get started here with a couple of vocabulary terms. First of all, a matrix. It's a collection of numbers arranged into, sorry, gotta get a pen that works, arranged into rows and columns. Here we have 2 rows and we have 3 columns. So the dimensions of the matrix in this particular one would be a 2 by 3. So you always do rows by columns. Scalar multiplication. The multiplication of each element in a matrix by a single real number called a scalar. To add or subtract matrices, they must have the same dimensions add or subtract corresponding entries. So here are our matrices, A through E. Multiply the following matrices by the given scalar. So they're saying take 3 and multiply by A. So you would take the 3 and you'd be multiplying by every element that is in A, which means 3 times 4, which is 12, 3 times 5, which is 15, 3 times -3, which is -9, 3 times 0, which is 0, 3 times -7, which is -21, and 3 times 10, which is 30. So the ending matrix would look like that. You go ahead and do this one, and then I'll give you a minute, and we'll come back and talk about it. So make sure you stop the video and do this part. All right, so hopefully you came up with that answer, which would be the matrix that is a 2 by 2 that has 6, 0, -8, and 2. Let's move on to this next section. If I can get this thing to work, here we go. So add or subtract the following matrices. So now they want you to take A and add E to it. So the first thing you have to check is to make sure they are the same dimensions. They are the same dimensions. This one right here is a 2 by 3. This one is a 2 by 3. And since that's the case, we can add them by just adding their corresponding parts. So if we start this process, we would say the following. I would start by writing A, which is 4 and 0, and 5 and 7, and that's negative, and -3 and 10. And I'm adding the matrix E, which is 1, 2, 6, -4, 6, and 8. Adding corresponding parts, I'm going to do this all the way out, but I don't really expect that you're going to do that as you go. This is going to be 4 plus 1. That's the first one. It's going to be 5 plus 2. That's the second one. It's going to be -3 plus 6. That's the third one. I have 0 minus 4. That's the fourth one. -7 plus 6. That's the fifth one. And 10 plus 8. That would be the sixth one. And when you do all that math, you're going to end up with a one that says 5, 7, 3, -4, -1, and 18. So hopefully that makes sense. Go ahead and do this next one. This one now it's saying you got to take 2, multiply by B, then you're going to subtract 3 times D. So go ahead and take a moment, pause the video, and work this one out. All right, hopefully you came up with this answer. 3, -12, 2, and 1. So multiply the scalar and then add them. One thing that I did a little bit differently, instead of multiplying by 3 and leaving this as a subtraction, I took the negative with me and changed this to a plus. So that's why this became positive 9. This became negative 6, negative 12, and positive 3. And that way, when I go to add these, I don't then have to worry about bringing the negative along with me. I just change it to an addition problem. All right, vocabulary, equal matrices. Two matrices are equal if their corresponding elements are equal. Hence the reason we call them equal. So if we're going to do one like this, it says that we have one matrix on the one side of the equality that says 4, 5, 8, 2, 5, 6, 9, 14, 18. And on the other side, it says 2x, 5y, 4z, x, y plus 4, 3z, x plus 7, 14y, 9z. Well, since there's an equal sign here, it's saying these equal each other, which means this should equal this. So 2x is equal to 4, so x must be 2. It's saying that this one, 5y, is equal to 5. So 5y is equal to 5, so y is equal to 1. And it's saying for this last one that we have 4z is equal to 8. And so z would have to be 2. Now, the rest of these, they're all still x's and y's and z's, and they're just kind of putting them in here to hopefully make you understand that they should be the same all the way through. So in this next one, it's saying 2 is equal to x. Well, x in this case, sorry. X in this case is 2. So that does work. And if I look at the bottom one, it says that 9 is supposed to equal 2 plus 7. Well, that also works. If I go to the next one, the next one's actually saying then that y was 1. So now I'm looking at this and it says 5 should be 5 should equal the y value, which is 1 plus 4. That's true. And the bottom one's saying 14 should equal 14 times 1. That is also true. And then the last one, same idea. It's saying that since z is 2, then it's saying that 6 should equal 3 times the z value of 2. That works. And 18 should equal 9 times the z value, which is 2. And that also works. So it's just kind of pointing out that corresponding elements are going to equal each other if there's an equal sign there. So that's really all it's saying. A little more vocabulary here for this next part. To multiply m times n matrix by an n times p matrix, your n must be the same in both. And the result that you're going to end up with is a m by p matrix. You're going to multiply the corresponding elements of each row by the corresponding element in each column. And then you're going to add the products. So here is how it looks when it's just written out in terms of letters. And I will say, this is something that you're going to need to know how to do, is to do this with letters. On the quiz itself, you're going to have some questions like that. It's important that you know how to do it. It's saying that you take row 1, and you multiply row 1, each corresponding thing, by the column number 1. So A times G, that's right here, plus B times H, that's right here, plus C times I, that is right here. And then you would add all of those together to get your answer. Now, keep in mind, this is a 2 by 3. This other one right here, this is a 3 by 2. And since the numbers in the middle are the same, these can be multiplied together, and your answer will result in a 2 by 2 matrix. And that makes sense because here's one row right here. There are two answers to this, and then there are 2 answers here, so there's a total of 2 by 2 answers. Hopefully that kind of makes sense. If the number of columns in the first matrice does not equal the number of rows in the second matrix, you cannot multiply the matrices. Also, if you have A times B, that will not give you the same answer as B times A. Okay, you're going to come up with totally different answers there. So it's not commutative in that case. All right, let's take a look at this part. It says multiply the following matrices. So first of all, check the dimensions. This first one, it's 1 row, 3 columns, so 1 by 3. The second one, it is 3 rows by 1 column. And since the middle numbers are the same, this is going to result in a 1 by 1 matrice. And so it means we're just going to have one entry in this matrice. I'm going to do this one out so that we can see it. So it's going to say, take your 2 and multiply by the -1. So 2 times -1 plus the -3 times 0. So -3 times 0 plus 4 times 1. That's the one entry that you're going to have in this thing. And then you just do the math to come up with your answer. This is going to be -2. I'll just do it here. It's -2 plus 0 plus 4. So 4 minus 2, the answer to this one, 2. There's just going to be one answer because it's a 1 by 1. Let's try this next one. This next one is saying it's a 1 row by 2 columns. This is 2 rows by 1 column. The numbers in the middle are the same. This will result in a 1 by 1 matrice. So here we go. It's going to say the following: 4 times 7 plus 3 times 9. That's what's going to happen in here. We have one entry. That gives you 28 plus 27, which gives you a matrice of 55. And that would be the answer. So hopefully this is making some sense. Let's take a look at this next one. The next one, the dimensions of this thing, the first one, it's a 2 by 1. The second one, it is a 2 by 2. But because the middle numbers are not the same, you can't multiply this one. All right. I'm going to give you a second and try this one. Okay. Pause the video and then work through it. All right, hopefully you came up with this solution, 40, 40, -9. So it should be a 1 by 2 because you had a 1 by 2 to begin with and a 2 by 2, and the middle numbers are the same, so the outside numbers tell you what dimensions you will have. Then it's take the first column, multiply by the row. Then take the first column and multiply by the second row. That gives you these two, and then from there, simplify them down. And your answer, remember, we're not combining those two, we just have two answers. All right, now, something a little bigger here. If we look at something like this is starting to get rather large, but the process should be the same. There are 2 rows and 3 columns in this first one, and this one is a 3 by 3. Well, we can do it because the 3's are the same. This is going to give us a 2 by 3 matrice when we're done. And this one's pretty involved. It's got a lot going on with it. So let's take a look at how this works. If it's a 2 by 3, then we're going to start with, we have 2 rows here and 3 columns when we're done. You're going to take the first row and multiply it by the first column right here. So first row by the first column. That means you're going to say 1 times 1 plus 0 times -2 plus 2 times 0. That's the first one. And then you're going to take row number 1 and you're going to multiply by column number 2. So you're going to have 1 times 3 plus 0 times 2 plus 2 times 4. That's the second column. And then one more because we have the third column. So it's the first row by the third column. So 1 times 7 plus, this is 0 times 6 plus 2 times 5. That's all of that row. Now we're going to swap it over. We're going to now move on to row number 2. So when we do row number 2, it's going to be this row by the first column. So 0 times 1 plus 1 times negative 2 plus negative 1 times 0. There is the first of the bottom row. Then we're going to have the first row times the second column. So 0 times 3 plus 1 times 2, excuse me, plus, this is going to be negative 1 times 4. That's going to be the second row, second column. And then it's the bottom row, or row number 2, by column number 3. So 0 times 7 plus 1 times 6 plus negative 1 times 5. That would be the end result that we would have. So hopefully we see it. It's a 2 rows by 3 columns. Now we're just going to clean it all up. In this case, I'm just going to kind of do it as we go here. So 1 times 1, this is 1 plus 0 plus 0. So the first answer is going to be a 1. Then the second one, we're going to have a 3 plus a 0. So just 3 plus 8, that's 11. And then 7 plus 0, that's still 7, and 7 plus 10 is 17. And then on the bottom row, we're going to have a 0, we're going to have a negative 2, and then 0 again. So this is just negative 2. Then we're going to have a 0, we're going to have, this was a 2, so this is 2 minus 4, that's negative 2. And then the last one, 0, this is 6, negative 5, 6 minus 5 is 1. So the end result would be this. Now, as they start getting bigger, that gets harder. Some of these are going to be, they'll be pretty quick for some of them, but some of them, this is going to be hard, and you're going to want to use a calculator. And so that's what we're going to talk about next, is just using your calculator. So get your calculator out, and we will just do what it's saying to do for the calculator here. So to do this thing, it says check your answer at number 10 by using the matrix menu on your calculator. So we're going to go to matrix. Matrix is where the X to the negative 1 button is. So second, matrix. We're going to go over to edit, and we're going to hit enter on A. We want to start with A. A, the dimensions of A were 2 by 3. So 2, enter, 3, enter. Now it shows you a 2 by 3 matrix. And now you're going to put in all the numbers. 1, enter, 0, enter. And it goes across. So it's going to go across as it fills this thing in. 2, enter, 0, enter, 1, enter, and negative 1, enter. Now I've got all those entered. Now I need to also enter the second one. So I'm going to go to second and matrix. I'm going to go over to edit, but now I'm going to go down to B. I'm going to hit enter for this one. This one was a 3 by 3, so I'm going to say 3, enter, 3, enter. Now you should see a 3 by 3 matrix, and we're going to put all the numbers in. Start with 1, then 3, then 7, then negative 2, 2, 6, 0, 4, and 5. So now I've filled both matrices in. Now I'm going to get out of here. So you got to go to quit. So you're going to say second and mode to get out of there and go back to the main screen. Now what I want it to say is I want it to say matrice A. So let me show you. It's going to say matrice A. And I'm going to multiply that by matrice B. Multiplication here. So this is what I want it to say. And so I'm going to look and see that that's the case when I actually bring this up. So the way that works, you're going to go second, matrix. Now I want to choose these names right here. That's why it says names, matrix names. I want to choose A, so I'm going to hit enter, and it should show A. Then I'm going to go second and matrix. I'm going to choose B and hit enter. And when I hit enter for this, it should pop out the answer, which was 1, 11, 17, -2, -2, and 1. Now, having shown you this, I just want you to be careful and understand that when you go to do this, it's okay to use your calculator, but a lot of times for some of these, it's not worth the time to put it in there. By the time you do that, you could have been done with this problem and moved on to something else. So don't just rely on that. Also, I said it a minute ago, part of your quiz is going to be doing something like this, where you have to multiply or add or whatever it is we're doing in here. You're going to be using just letters. So you won't be able to do that. So what I would say is when you go to do the homework, you should pick a few of them and try them by hand before you just jump to the calculator. Because A, you're going to need to know how to do it on the quiz, and B, if you don't know how to do it on the quiz, well, I mean, if you don't know, you're obviously going to do poorly on it. So, like I said, there are 4 questions where you have to do things without numbers. So just be aware of that. Hopefully this works out for you. We'll talk to you soon. Have a good one. Bye.